Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 plus level grammar lesson. Today we're going to be learning or reviewing the present simple and the present continuous, and also learning gradable and extreme adjectives. So which languages can you speak, and do you know words from a lot of different languages? And so who is studying which language, and why do you think they're studying each language? So maybe just take a guess at some of those. Now we'll learn the answers over the next several slides. So you can complete the text. You can either pause the video, read this on your own and fill in the blanks, or you can follow along as I read and then restart when you're ready to see the answers. I started learning Arabic about a month ago. I'm planning to go on vacation to Egypt next year, and I want to be able to speak some basic Arabic while I'm there. In my opinion, it's quite a difficult language to learn. For one thing, the alphabet is completely different, and they write from right to left instead of left to right. At the moment, I'm trying to learn some basic greetings, numbers, and some vocabulary for food and drink. That will be a good start, at least. And do you know any other languages that write from right to left? Do you know any basic greetings in Arabic? And in which countries is Arabic spoken? All right, Yosef is learning Russian. Again, you can do the same thing. You can either pause the video, try these on your own, or you can follow along and answer as I read. I've been learning Russian for quite a while now. I started studying the language because I wanted to travel to Russia to watch the World Cup. Now I'm hooked. I have a Russian girlfriend who speaks very good English, and she is helping me. One of the great things about Russian is the pronunciation. You look at a word and you know how to pronounce it. The grammar is complicated, though. I can speak Russian quite well, but I'm still struggling with the grammar. So according to the text, what is difficult and what is easy about learning Russian? Well, he says the pronunciation is easy, but the grammar is difficult. And do you know any words in Russian? And do you know anyone who speaks Russian? All right, now we're going to review the present simple. We use the present simple for facts that are always true. For example, the earth goes around the sun. In Arabic, you write from right to left, and vegetarians don't eat meat. We use the present simple to describe routines and habits. We always get takeout on Friday evenings. Beryl usually hurries for the bus every morning. Jason generally doesn't work later than 5 p.m. And we also use the present simple for opinions and belief. Do you agree with me? I think it's a good idea. He doesn't believe me. All right, so now you're going to read each sentence and then see if you can figure out which use of the present simple it is. Is it a fact that's true all the time? Is it a habit or a routine? Or is it an opinion or belief? So go ahead and pause the video, try those on your own, and then you can restart when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, ice melts quickly in hot weather. That is a fact. I don't think Errol is a good person. That is an opinion or belief. Babies cry when they are hungry. That is a fact. I don't like him because he always tells lies. Um, that would be, it could be a habit or a routine because of the use of always. It could also make a case for it being an opinion. We eat breakfast each morning at 6:30 a.m. That's a habit or routine. She doesn't know the answer. That is a fact. The teacher never gives us homework. That could be a habit or routine. And I have a swimming lesson each Thursday, habit or routine. And now we'll take a quick review of the present continuous. So Yosef says, I'm still struggling with the grammar. So that is an action in progress at the time of speaking. We are learning the alphabet this week. Actions and situations around the moment of speaking. And I'm going on vacation to Egypt next year is future arrangement. So these are the three situations where you would use the present continuous. So an action in progress at the time of speaking, actions around the moment of speaking, and a future arrangement. All right, again, you're going to read each sentence and decide if the present continuous is for which of these uses of the present continuous applies here. Again, you can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. He's taking the bus to work this week because his car broke down. Okay, that would be an action or situation around the moment of speaking. Hurry up, mom's waiting for you at the train station. So an action at the time of speaking. We're visiting a museum this weekend is a future arrangement. She's not coming to dinner on Saturday is also a future arrangement. I'm eating dinner, so I can't talk to you now. That's an action at the time of speaking. We're doing a cooking class this month, an action or situation around the time of speaking. And Sammy and Alex had an argument, they're not talking, an action or situation around the time of speaking. Number 6, I think, also might be a future arrangement if they haven't started the cooking class yet. So sometimes more than one reason can apply depending on the context. All right, Karthik is learning ancient Greek. So again, you can pause the video, try these on your own, and then answer the questions. And then restart the video when you're ready to check your answers, or you can follow along as I read. People often laugh at me when I tell them that I'm learning ancient Greek. They ask me why I want to learn a dead language, but I've always been interested in classic literature. I took it up about 2 months ago. I go to classes once a week. The classes are great fun, and they say that learning a foreign language helps keep your mind active. We are still learning the alphabet at the moment. I'm finding it hard to remember, but I'm making progress. So find some uses of the present simple for a habit or routine. So here, people often laugh. So often, and that's simple present. Let's see. Sure, there's anything else. Okay. So tell would be a habit. They ask is simple present. I go, simple present. They say, helps. That's it. And then find the uses of the present continuous for an action or situation around now. That would be I'm learning. Switch color here. I'm learning. Let's see, I'm finding. And I'm making. All right, so we don't use all verbs in the present continuous. There are some verbs that don't use the present continuous form, and these are called state verbs or stative verbs. So when we use the following verbs, we generally use a simple tense. So for likes and preferences, like, love, hate, want, prefer, need. Mental states, agree, believe, understand, know, think, or have. And other verbs like be, own, forget, seem, occur, and depend. So I want to become a doctor would be correct, but you really wouldn't say I'm wanting to become a doctor. You either want something or you don't want it. There's no continuous wanting. He owns that car, but you cannot say he's owning that car. He either owns the car or he doesn't own the car. There's no continuous owning. All right, so now you can decide whether the verb in parentheses needs to be present simple or present continuous. You can pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So he drives to work every day. She likes her new teacher. Kunal owns a large house on Maple Street. I am learning Spanish this month. I enjoy it. Sorry, but I don't agree with you. That's not correct. Please put on a jacket. It is raining heavily. Today, I am wearing a hat that I bought on the weekend. They are very good friends, and they also work together. All right, and then some verbs can be used for a state or an action, so they can be used in the present simple or the present continuous. And three examples of these special verbs are think, see, and have. And here are some examples. She thinks it's a bad idea. That's opinion. We're thinking about visiting you. It's a mental process. I don't see your point of view. Meaning I don't understand. She's seeing the dentist next week. So that's a future plan for a meeting. We don't have any money. So possession. He has 3 brothers. Relationship. And he's having trouble with his homework is an action. All right, so now let's listen to Amanda, and then you can listen to the audio, and then you pause the video when she finishes the audio. See if you can answer the questions, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers.
I think one thing that makes people hesitant to learn Russian is the alphabet. In fact, when you look closely, the Cyrillic alphabet is not very different from the Roman alphabet. Some of the letters are new. Of course, you have to learn those, but overall, I thought learning the alphabet was quite easy. To me, handwritten Russian is extremely beautiful. At first, it was a little bit difficult to form the new letters, but it just takes practice. I found some great exercises online, which were very useful. In my opinion, Russian grammar is extremely complicated. Nouns can be masculine, feminine, or neuter. And it's a little bit depressing when you realize how many grammatical forms you need to memorize. On a more positive note, speaking and listening in Russian are quite straightforward.
Right, so what language is Amanda learning? She is learning Russian. What does she say about the alphabet? Well, she said it isn't much different from the Roman alphabet, and the letters are easy to learn. In her opinion, what is beautiful about the language? Um, the handwritten form. And what does she think is complicated? The grammar. All right, you're going to listen to Amanda again, and this time you're going to answer these questions. Which alphabets does Amanda mention? How did Amanda describe learning the alphabet? Where did she find great exercises? And which parts of the language are straightforward?
I think one thing that makes people hesitant to learn Russian is the alphabet. In fact, when you look closely, the Cyrillic alphabet is not very different from the Roman alphabet. Some of the letters are new. Of course, you have to learn those. But overall, I thought learning the alphabet was quite easy. To me, handwritten Russian is extremely beautiful. At first, it was a little bit difficult to form the new letters, but it just takes practice. I found some great exercises online, which were very useful. In my opinion, Russian grammar is extremely complicated. Nouns can be masculine, feminine, or neuter. And it's a little bit depressing when you realize how many grammatical forms you need to memorize. On a more positive note, speaking and listening in Russian are quite straightforward.
Right, so which alphabets does Amanda mention? So letter B, the Roman and the Cyrillic. How did Amanda describe learning the alphabet? She said it was quite easy, letter C. Where did Amanda find great exercises? It's D, online. And which parts of the language are straightforward? It's letter A, speaking and listening. All right, so Amanda used some adjectives. You're going to look at the words in bold. In each group, the second word is an adjective. The first word changes the degree of the adjective. And there's a note here that useful is an adjective. We can use different words like very in front of useful. For example, something can be very useful or extremely useful. All right, so she said quite easy. Easy was the adjective, and quite is tells the degree of easy that it was. Extremely beautiful, a bit difficult, very useful, extremely complicated, a bit depressing, and quite straightforward. And one thing to note here is that you actually have little, which modifies bit, and then together a little bit depressing. So that's just kind of a an interesting note there. So gradable and extreme adjectives. Look at the adjectives and you can see the different degrees of the adjectives. So adjectives like freezing and boiling have an extreme meaning. And then we can use intensifiers like really, absolutely, and completely with extreme adjectives. So freezing is the most intense or the most extreme, very cold, quite cold, and cold. But you could even make this more by saying absolutely freezing, really cold. So those are just some examples. And then with gradable adjectives like hot, cold, boiling, we can add intensifiers to make the meaning weaker or stronger. So quite hot, very hot, really hot, extremely hot. All right, so these are some common extreme adjectives. These are the gradable ones. A little cold, quite big, very tired, really bad, extremely dirty, a little angry. And then the extremes, absolutely terrible, completely, really enormous, completely exhausted, really freezing, or absolutely freezing, completely filthy, absolutely furious. And here's the note that says you can use really with all of the adjectives. All right, so now listen to Hanan, and then you'll answer whether the statements are true or false, and if they're false, you need to correct them. So I'll go ahead and play this, and you can read along, and then try to answer the questions. Oops.
The first time I tried to learn Arabic was absolutely terrifying. I had enrolled in a beginner's class, but on the first day I discovered that I was the only real beginner in the group. All the other students already spoke some Arabic. In my opinion, it's absolutely essential to understand the basics before you can move on. I had no idea what was happening in the first class. It seemed absolutely endless. The pace of the classes was too fast for me, and I was completely exhausted after each lesson. After a couple of weeks, I realized that it was going to be impossible for me to keep up, and I dropped out of the class. This experience made me hesitant to learn a new language for quite a while. I felt absolutely awful.
All right, so we'll answer these questions, true or false. Hanan talks about the first time she learned Japanese. Well, that is false. So it wasn't Japanese, it was Arabic. She enrolled in a beginner's class. That was true. The pace of the classes was too slow. That was false. She said it was too fast. And she dropped out of the class. That was true. All right, so now listen again to Hanan, and we will fill in the intensifiers that she uses for each of the adjectives.
The first time I tried to learn Arabic was absolutely terrifying. I had enrolled in a beginner's class, but on the first day I discovered that I was the only real beginner in the group. All the other students already spoke some Arabic. In my opinion, it's absolutely essential to understand the basics before you can move on. I had no idea what was happening in the first class. It seemed absolutely endless. The pace of the classes was too fast for me, and I was completely exhausted after each lesson. After a couple of weeks, I realized that it was going to be impossible for me to keep up, and I dropped out of the class. This experience made me hesitant to learn a new language for quite a while. I felt absolutely awful.
Right, so she used absolutely several times and then one time completely for exhausted. All right, so now think about if you have someone to practice with, you can do these practice exercises. Or if you would like to interact, you could answer the questions and leave them in the comments next to the video. But they're asking you about what language did you learn. For example, I am learning Spanish. And what was easy to learn? I think in Spanish, pronunciation is very easy. The hardest thing for me to remember was all the verb endings, the different verb endings. What was complicated to understand? The different verb tenses and when to use them in Spanish. How did you feel when you were learning the language? Sometimes it was frustrating at first, but as I got better, I felt more confident. And did you have any problems learning the language? Not really. The only problem was at the beginning I didn't have enough time to practice. So you can answer the questions based on whatever language you're learning, English or maybe another language. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.